Today we're tackling something huge, something that really weighs on people. How do you actually choose the right career path?
The big one.
Yeah, and it's not just, getting a job. It's about a decision that shapes, well, everything. Your income, your lifestyle, even your identity. Long-term happiness, really.
Absolutely right. And for, I suspect, many of you listening, it can feel like you're just lost in the woods, no clear path. So our mission today really is to dive into a comprehensive guide to finding the right career path. We want to pull out those key insights, those aha moments.
Right, to help you find that path without feeling totally overwhelmed.
Exactly.
And just to underline why this matters so much, get this. The average person spends over 90,000 hours at work.
Wow, 90,000.
90,000 hours. I mean, when you hear that number, it really hits home how much your career affects, well, your mental health, your personal growth, relationships, your sense of purpose. It's huge.
It really is.
Yeah.
And the difference between spending those hours feeling, fulfilled, motivated, like you're making a difference, versus feeling stressed, unhappy, maybe brink out. It's just night and day. Making a good choice here is a massive investment in your overall well-being.
Okay, so you're lost in that forest. The guide says step 1, self-reflection, looking inward. But what does that actually mean in practice? It's got to be more than just like, I enjoy movies, right?
Oh, definitely. It's about digging a bit deeper. The guide talks about interests, passions, sure. But think less about hobbies and more about what kinds of problems genuinely engage you?
Okay.
What activities make you lose track of time? Are you someone who loves bringing order to chaos, maybe project management? Or are you the person everyone goes to for advice? Perhaps counseling, HR, something like that. It's about finding those underlying drivers.
Got it. So not just what you can do, but what really gets you going. The guide also mentions skills and strengths, both the technical stuff, the hard skills, and the softer people skills. How do we figure those out?
Well, the hard skills are often a bit more obvious. Things you've learned, like coding, writing, using certain software. But the soft skills, communication, empathy, leadership, they're just as vital. Think about times you've really shown. What did you bring? Did you smooth over a disagreement? That's communication. Did you get a team across the finish line? That's leadership. The guide also points to tools like Myers-Briggs, the MBTI, or StrengthsFinder. They aren't definitive answers, but they can be useful starting points for, understanding your natural inclinations.
Okay, so it's about the whole picture, not just the resume points. And then there's the big question of what you actually want. From your career, from your life. The guide really pushes aligning values and lifestyle goals. How do we even start with that?
Yeah, that takes some honest questioning. What's truly non-negotiable for you? Is it work-life balance above all?
Creative expression, making a difference, or maybe financial security is paramount.
Your career should ideally support these core values. Like the guide says, someone who craves autonomy might really struggle in a rigid corporate job. Maybe they'd be happier freelancing.
Sure.
But someone else might thrive on that structure and clear path. It boils down to asking, what really matters to you, day in, day out?
Okay, so you've done some serious thinking. You understand yourself a bit better. What's next, according to the guide? It's looking outwards now, right? Seeing what's available.
Exploration time. The guide really flags the importance of researching careers. A fantastic resource it mentions is the U.S. Bureau of Labor Statistics Occupational Outlook Handbook.
Oh, yeah,
It's like a gold mine. Job descriptions, education needed, salary potential, future outlook. It's all there. And of course, sites like LinkedIn, Indeed, they give you a real-time feel for the market.
And I imagine talking to actual people doing the jobs is invaluable. Informational interviews, right?
Oh, absolutely crucial.
Yeah.
Reaching out to people in fields that interest you, asking about their day-to-day, the good parts, the bad parts, how they got there. The guide stresses that this kind of first-hand insight is just gold. You learn things you'll never find online. And it also highlights getting your hands dirty. Job shadowing, volunteering, internships.
Right, trying it on for size.
Totally. It gives you a real taste, a reality check. Could be good, could be bad, but it's always clarifying.
And we can't forget the practical side, education, training. The guide makes it clear that different jobs have very different on-ramps.
That's a massive piece of the puzzle. Becoming a doctor versus becoming a coder, totally different paths, different time commitments, different costs.
Yeah, a coding boot camp versus med school pulls apart.
Exactly. Understanding those requirements, the time, the money is critical for making a realistic choice.
Okay, so you've looked in, you've looked out. Now, the decision, crunch time. The guide suggests a way to narrow it all down.
Yep. It suggests making a short list. maybe your top 3 to 5 options. Then you systematically evaluate each one. How well does it fit your interests, your skills? What about the education needed? Job stability, salary, the work environment.
That sounds very organized. The guide even mentions things like decision matrices or just a good old pros and cons list. Do those actually help?
They really can. They bring some logic to what can feel like a purely emotional choice.
Mm.
The guide also, very wisely, suggests talking to mentors or career counselors. Getting an outside perspective is often incredibly helpful.
That makes sense.
And another key point the guide makes, think about flexibility.
Flexibility, how so?
Well, both in terms of your skills, are they transferable? Could you use them in different roles, maybe even different industries down the line?
Ah, okay.
And also your own adaptability. Life changes, right?
Mm-hmm.
The guide points to fields like healthcare, education, technology. They often have skills that are pretty versatile, opening more doors over time.
The guide shares a couple of stories to make this real. Let's talk about Jenna. She went from law to teaching. What's the lesson there?
Jenna's story is a great example of prioritizing fulfillment. Even if it meant leaving a successful career on paper, it also shows that sometimes, you might need more education or a pay adjustment, but that boost in satisfaction can be completely worth it. The point is, it's okay to define success your own way.
And then there's Rahul, software engineer to entrepreneur. That's a different kind of move.
Totally different. Rahul's story really highlights linking passion with skills, even if it means taking on more risk.
Yeah, big leap.
It shows the potential rewards when you create your own thing, maybe because traditional jobs don't quite fit. It's about having the courage to bet on yourself, really.
Yeah, let's be real. This whole process can be scary. The guide talks about that fear. What if I make the wrong choice? What does it say about that?
It offers a really important perspective. Career paths are almost never straight lines. Most people zigzag. They have twists, turns. That's normal. The key is to see every experience, even the detours, as learning. You're gathering data, refining your direction. Adaptability is like your superpower.
And money worries, that's a huge factor for so many people. How does the guide suggest handling that?
It definitely acknowledges that financial realities matter. The advice is pretty practical. Maybe think phases. You might need to keep your stable job for a while.
Right.
When you slowly build skills or experience in your desired field on the side, part-time courses, side projects, volunteering, it lets you move towards your goal without taking a massive financial hit all at once.
What about pressure from family or society? That can be tricky.
Yeah, the guy talks about finding a balance. It's important to respect the people you love, sure, but ultimately it's your career, your life.
Sure.
It suggests open communication, trying to find a path that honors your own dreams while, acknowledging family concerns where you can.
Yeah.
It's about finding your definition of success.
The world of work is changing so fast. Technology. The guide dives into that too, right? That feels like a massive piece we all need to think about now.
Oh, absolutely. Tech is just transforming everything. The guide points to booming fields, data science, cybersecurity, green energy driven by AI, automation, and it also notes that some traditional roles might decline. It just really hammers home how important it is to stay informed, stay adaptable, keep learning relevant skills.
And alongside that, we've got the gig economy, remote work exploding. How does the guide frame those trends?
It really focuses on the flexibility and autonomy they can offer. Freelancing, remote jobs, they give you more control over when and where you work.
Yeah.
The guide even mentions portfolio careers, people juggling multiple part-time gigs or projects instead of one full-time job. It allows for variety, pursuing different interests.
So it's definitely not just about getting the job, but building a career over the long haul. And the guide stresses lifelong learning for that.
That's basically non-negotiable now. The people who thrive are the ones committed to always learning. Formal education, online courses, just staying curious, keeping up with your field. That adaptability, that willingness to learn, that's key for long-term resilience.
And connections networking. Mentors, the guide, seems to see those as pretty vital too.
Absolutely vital. Building relationships in your industry. It opens doors you wouldn't believe. Opportunities, collaborations, advice. Things like industry events, professional groups, seeking out mentors, they can genuinely accelerate your growth and give you support.
And in this day and age, your online footprint, your personal brand, seems like that matters more than ever. The guide mentions this.
It does. Having a polished LinkedIn profile,
Mm,
maybe a personal website showing your work, even just thoughtful engagement online in your field,
mm,
it helps you stand out.
right.
Sharing what, maybe blogging or speaking.
Mm.
That can really build your reputation.
Okay, but even with the best plans, sometimes things need to change. You might need to pivot. Does the guide talk about recognizing when it's time for that?
Yeah, it suggests watching out for persistent feelings, like feeling stuck, unchallenged, or just disconnected from your work.
Mm.
Or sometimes big life changes trigger it. The guide mentions resources for making a transition, online courses for new skills, career coaches, maybe even a sabbatical for clarity.
Hmm.
And crucially, leveraging the skills you already have, those transferable skills, in a new area.
Interesting that the guide even touches on global and cultural differences in careers.
It's a good reminder, yeah. What's considered a good career path, the emphasis on stability versus risk-taking. It can vary a lot culturally.
Sure.
Something to keep in mind, especially if you're thinking about working abroad.
This has been incredibly thorough, really digging into the guide. If you had to boil it down, what's the absolute core message for someone trying to navigate this?
I think the main takeaway is that choosing a career isn't a single final decision. It's a journey. It's personal. It evolves. It involves self-awareness, exploring, making brave choices, and being willing to adapt as you go.
Yeah, and it's so important to remember what the guide says. No choice guarantees happiness forever, but making a thoughtful, informed decision, that seriously boosts your chances of finding work that feels rewarding and meaningful to you.
Precisely. And whether you're just starting out or you're mid-career thinking about a change or maybe starting fresh entirely, the principle is the same. Your work should serve your life. It should add to it, not drain it.
So as you're thinking about all this, maybe mull this over. Beyond the salary, what does prosperity really look like for you in your work, and how does that connect, or does it connect, with your sense of purpose? Something to chew on. Thanks for diving deep with us today.